A police officer is sentenced to death for a murder he maintains he did not commit. As time dwindles, his devoted German shepherd refuses to abandon hope, sensing a truth others miss. Then, just days before the execution, the dog performs an extraordinary act that alters the course of events. But will this astounding revelation arrive too late to save his partner's life? And what dangerous secret has been concealed so thoroughly that only a dog's instincts could reveal it? Please share in the comments below where you're watching from. If you enjoy extraordinary canine stories like this one, remember to subscribe. You won't want to miss future episodes. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in courtroom March 11, 10, casting harsh shadows across Jack Calloway's face. 15 years spent on the Portland police force had taught him to manage his expressions, but even his considerable training couldn't fully hide the tightness in his jaw as he awaited the verdict. His service weapon and badge were absent, substituted by handcuffs that pressed into his wrists. Judge Martinez's gavel broke the heavy silence. Has the jury reached a verdict? The jury forewoman rose, her voice trembling a little as she opened the paper she held. Jack's gaze swept the room with practiced precision. His lawyer, David Walsh, held his pen with such force that his knuckles were pale. District Attorney Peterson's lips curved subtly upward. In the rear, Eva Mercer remained rigidly upright, her expression carefully neutral. She had been his associate for 6 years, yet she might as well have been an unknown. Regarding the case of the state versus Jack Calloway, concerning the charge of first-degree murder, the defendant has been found. The forewoman hesitated, adjusting her voice. Guilty. The pronouncement struck Jack with a palpable force, yet he remained motionless. The courtroom filled with hushed intakes of breath and murmurs. The jury suggests execution by lethal injection. Jack tightened his jaw as his thoughts rapidly reviewed the evidence that had determined his outcome. The murder weapon discovered in his garage was free of fingerprints. The security footage depicted someone of similar stature entering Senator Harrison's residence, and a witness testified to having seen his car parked nearby that night. The evidence appeared impeccable, almost too impeccable. However, he possessed the true account. Outside the courthouse, Bolt awaited his temporary handler. The German shepherd's ears rose at the sound of the substantial doors opening. As Jack emerged in handcuffs, Bolt's entire body stiffened. He gave a sharp bark, straining against his leash so powerfully that Officer Torres nearly lost his balance. "Easy, boy," Torres said, working to keep hold. But Bolt's barking escalated, becoming more panicked. The dog perceived a problem. He felt it with an intuition that surpassed human comprehension. From the courthouse steps, Eva watched, her hands trembling slightly as she pulled her jacket tighter against the October chill. She'd tracked down murderers with Jack, broken up drug rings, survived shootouts. Now she was watching him being taken away as one of the criminals they'd sworn to stop. The evidence had seemed solid when she'd first reviewed it. Too solid, a voice in her head whispered. Across 15 years in law enforcement, she hadn't encountered a case conclude with such precision, each element fitting seamlessly. It resembled a connect-the-dots illustration of culpability, where the connections were made without any questioning of the resulting form. Jack maintained his gaze ahead as they escorted him toward the prisoner transport van, Bolt's escalating barks reverberating against the courthouse walls. The dog's unease broke through Eva's professional composure. Throughout 4 years of service, Bolt had never been mistaken about an individual. Not a single time. As the transport van departed, Bolt's barks softened into subdued, sorrowful whimpers. The German shepherd looked toward Eva, his brown eyes conveying a level of understanding that made her pause. She crouched down next to him, stroking his dense coat. "It's all right, boy," she murmured, primarily to herself rather than to the dog. "Something feels amiss, and we will discover what it is." District Attorney Peterson walked past, his expression conveying his recent victory. "Good work today, Detective Mercer. Justice was served," he said. However, Eva detected something in his delivery. Felt like a warning, or maybe a challenge. She recalled Jack's words from 3 weeks prior, shortly before his arrest. "There's something bigger going on here, Eva. The Harrison case. It's just the surface." She had disregarded his worries then, preoccupied with the increasing evidence against him. Observing Peterson walk away, while Bolt growled quietly beside her, she pondered what her partner had uncovered that warranted framing him for murder. The van vanished around the corner, transporting Jack toward death row. Bolt's posture became rigid, his ears attentive, as if he sensed Eva's hardening determination. She rose, her decision becoming clear. Jack had instructed her that the truth wasn't always as it appeared. The moment had arrived to apply those lessons and uncover the truth surrounding Senator Harrison's death, before time expired for her partner. The metal door of cell 241 closed with a hollow clang that seemed to resonate through Jack's bones. The confined space felt like a tomb. It contained bare concrete walls, a narrow cot with a thin mattress, and a stainless steel/toilet sink combination that had seen better days. A single artificial light buzzed overhead, offering no natural illumination. "Welcome to death row, detective," the guard stated, his voice devoid of feeling. Or, as he added, ex-detective. Jack remained still, positioned in the middle of his cell, his thoughts wrestling with the starkness of his circumstances. The sound of the guard's footsteps diminished as he walked away, leaving Jack solitary, accompanied by the echoes of metal doors, indistinct voices, and his own introspection. Across town, Eva opened the door to her apartment, Bolt following closely. She had intended to provide him with a temporary residence until alternative arrangements were finalized, but the German Shepherd appeared to have his own agenda. He moved restlessly between the door and the window, his nails tapping against the hardwood floor. Frequently, he would pause and whine, looking at Eva with eyes that seemed to convey an urgent message. Eva arranged the case files on her kitchen table, the lamp creating long shadows on the wall. She had examined them a dozen times prior to the trial, but something about Bolt's behavior at the courthouse had ignited a renewed sense of purpose. Her focus initially landed on the murder weapon, a .45 caliber pistol discovered in Jack's garage 3 days following Senator Harrison's death. The ballistics analysis confirmed a perfect match, and the gun had been meticulously cleaned to remove fingerprints. She mused it was almost excessively clean, recalling Jack's insistence on meticulous weapon upkeep. Had he employed it, there would have been traces of gun oil, rather than this pristine condition. Bolt abruptly ceased his pacing, his head turning sharply towards Eva's front door. A low growl emanated from his throat as footsteps neared in the hallway. Eva's hand automatically moved to her service weapon, but the footsteps continued past. Bolt's growl subsided, although his vigilance persisted, his body rigid and prepared. Her phone vibrated. A message from Detective Rodriguez read, "Leave it alone, Mercer. The case is closed." Eva's jaw clenched. She hadn't informed anyone that she was examining the files. The following morning, she went to the evidence lockup, displaying her badge to Officer Chin. "I need to review some items from the Harrison case." Chin seemed uneasy. "That's been sealed by the DA's office. It requires special clearance now." "Since when?" Eva asked. "Orders came down this morning." "Sorry, Eva." Returning to her desk, Eva started examining Harrison's actions prior to his death. The senator had been involved in multiple significant undertakings, but one was particularly noteworthy: a sequence of private discussions regarding the city's upcoming highway development project. Involving millions in contracts, the project had been expedited despite considerable environmental worries. Bolt, lying beneath her desk, suddenly became attentive. His ears rose as Captain Rivera neared. Mercer, Rivera's voice remained quiet but resolute, informed him of a call from the district attorney's office. They expressed concern regarding his recent investigations. "It was simply a matter of finalizing outstanding details, sir. The matters are resolved. Please cease your pursuit." He hesitated, his demeanor relaxing a little. "Avoid complicating the situation unnecessarily." That evening, Eva walked Bolt as they regularly did. The German Shepherd guided her along their known path, but when they neared the location of the new highway construction, he abruptly halted. He sniffed the air, guiding Eva towards a construction trailer. Situated behind it, obscured by scattered materials, she located a damaged piece of paper. Despite the deterioration from mud and water, she discerned a few words: Harrison and payment schedule. With a slight tremor in her hands, Eva photographed the fragment and then placed it in an evidence bag. Bolt remained watchful, his stance stiff, observing the surrounding shadows. A car engine started in the vicinity. Eva noticed a dark sedan driving away, its headlights extinguished. It appeared someone had been observing her. Upon returning home, Eva's computer received an encrypted communication from her contact within the forensics lab. They confirmed a match based on the partial prints she had requested, but noted an anomaly. The file had been altered, requiring a higher level of security clearance that her contact lacked. Eva was preparing to reply when Bolt's growl shattered the silence. She glanced around and saw a small red dot flickering on her wall. It was a laser sight. Without hesitation, she dropped to the floor as her window exploded inward. Glass rained down as Bolt's powerful barks filled the apartment. Eva crawled to her weapon, her heart pounding. It was clear now. She wasn't just chasing a theory anymore. She was getting close to something, and someone was willing to kill to keep it hidden. The early morning fog clung to Eva's shoes as she and Bolt approached the back entrance of the Harrison estate. Fragments of yellow police tape drifted in the breeze, a diminishing echo of the senator's tragic death. She had leveraged her connections to gain access, a final inspection of the property prior to its sale. Bolt proceeded purposefully, his nose actively analyzing the air as he tracked a scent trail perceptible only to him. Eva, experienced with numerous K-9 teams, could immediately sense when a dog had identified something significant. The German Shepherd guided her through the pristine garden, disregarding the clear access points, directly to a somewhat concealed storm cellar. This wasn't present in the initial crime scene photographs, Eva commented, observing the sturdy padlock. A swift scan with her flashlight uncovered another detail, recent scratch marks near the keyhole. Later, at the precinct, Eva was thoroughly reviewing Harrison's financial records when her computer screen abruptly went dark. A notification displayed, "System maintenance required." Access to all files was disrupted. "That's not a coincidence," she murmured to Bolt, who was watchful under her desk. 3 other detectives expressed frustration with their screens. The shutdown affected the entire department. Her disposable phone vibrated. "Meet me at Riverside Park. 1 hour." She recognized the message. I knew Harrison. The voice was male, elderly, and unknown. Eva located her informant on a quiet bench, scattering seed for pigeons. Former Judge Michael Conway retired 3 years ago following 2 decades of service on the bench. A month prior to his passing, Harrison informed me, Conway stated, without raising his gaze from the pigeons. He claimed to have uncovered details regarding the highway project, noting discrepancies in the bidding procedures, shell corporations, and millions of dollars diverted to offshore accounts. I inquired why he hadn't testified during the trial. Conway's hands shook as he tossed more breadcrumbs. He explained that the last individual Harrison shared his concerns with subsequently died in a robbery gone wrong. I then questioned him about his partner. He finally made eye contact. Calloway was getting too close. They needed him removed. A jogger approached. Conway became silent until they passed. Harrison maintained proof. Records, recordings, everything. In his A sudden, sharp sound echoed through the air. Conway lowered his head, a tiny red mark appearing on his forehead. Bolt's warning bark arrived a fraction of a second too late. Eva moved quickly to safety behind a concrete planter as another shot stirred up dirt close to her feet. Bolt remained down low, his training taking over as he directed her towards the nearest exit. They reached her car as police sirens started to sound faintly in the distance. That evening, Eva remained in her apartment, her hands still trembling as she examined her notes. Conway's final words resonated in her mind. Harrison possessed evidence. The storm cellar. It needed to be there. Her phone sounded. Jack's lawyer. They were accelerating the execution date. There were 2 weeks, possibly fewer. Eva's stomach sank. 2 weeks. It wasn't sufficient time. A scrape at her window startled her, but it was merely a tree branch. Then she observed a detail. The limb was positioned too near. It hadn't been that close yesterday. Bolt check, she instructed. The German Shepherd proceeded to the window, his demeanor shifting immediately. A suppressed growl emanated from his chest. Eva cautiously drew back the drape. A compact camera had been affixed to the branch, its lens focused squarely on her desk. The following morning, she returned to the Harrison estate prior to sunrise. Her lock picks compromised the storm cellar lock after 10 fraught minutes. Bolt initiated the descent, his training evident as he swiftly cleared the area. The cellar was bare, containing only a steel filing cabinet and a laptop coated in dust. Eva felt disheartened, but Bolt began nudging a particular point on the floor. His actions were clear. He had located something. A dislodged floorboard exposed a concealed compartment. Within it, a waterproof case held precisely what Conway had described: files, USB drives, and a voice recorder. Eva had just obtained the evidence when Bolt's warning bark broke the quiet. Footsteps sounded from above. Detective Mercer's voice called down, a sound she recognized. "Find anything of note?" A chill went through her. It was Captain Rivera. He continued, "I genuinely hoped you'd be more perceptive than Calloway. That you'd grasp that certain questions are best left unanswered." His flashlight beam sliced through the gloom as he came down the stairs. Eva detected the unmistakable sound of a firearm being prepared. Bolt placed himself between Eva and the looming danger, his body tense and prepared. They were confined below ground with incriminating proof and a compromised senior officer. Regardless of what transpired next, there was no possibility of retreat. Eva's thoughts hurried as Rivera's footsteps echoed down the basement stairs. Her weapon was raised, but eliminating her captain would only confirm Jack's belief in everyone's perception. Bolt stayed completely motionless, anticipating her order. Rivera stated, his voice unusually calm, that Harrison never grasped the larger context. He added that this was similar to Jack and similar to you. A loud crash occurred from above. Bolt had tipped over a metal trash can close to the cellar entrance during their previous search. Rivera reacted immediately, turning toward the sound. Eva took advantage of the opportunity, tackling him as Bolt moved forward, grabbing Rivera's gun hand. The weapon fell down the stairs. Eva fastened Rivera's hands behind his back using restraints. "The larger issue. Are you referring to the highway project fraud?" Rivera chuckled, a grating sound in the poorly lit cellar. "Do you believe this concerns a few $1 million in construction kickbacks?" Harrison uncovered a significantly larger scheme. "Why do you suppose they worked so hard to expedite Jack's conviction?" Before Eva could reply, radio transmissions crackled from above. Rivera's reinforcements were approaching. She took the evidence case and moved further into the cellar. Bolt guided her toward a corroded maintenance tunnel, a means of escape absent from any architectural drawings. They appeared 2 blocks away precisely as police sirens approached the Harrison estate. Eva's disposable phone vibrated. A message arrived from an unidentified sender. "Storage Unit 247, Riverside Rentals, code 5891. Proceed quickly." The storage facility stood empty upon their arrival. Unit 247's lock disengaged, exposing a limited area holding just a laptop and a manila envelope. The laptop activated, displaying a video file already prepared. Senator Harrison's face appeared on the screen, the timestamp indicating 3 days prior to his murder. The message began, "If you are viewing this, I am likely deceased. What I have discovered extends beyond corruption. The highway project serves as a disguise. The construction company, the offshore accounts, they all conceal something significantly greater. Criminal enterprises, including international drug trafficking and weapon shipments, are utilizing our port. Law enforcement, judicial figures, and city officials appear to be complicit. I have gathered evidence implicating everyone, including..." The recording ended unexpectedly. Eva examined the manila envelope, discovering photographs of prominent officials at clandestine gatherings, financial records detailing substantial transfers, and a roster of individuals. Her hands shook as she identified them: judges, politicians, and senior police personnel. Alongside each name, a corresponding number appeared, presumably indicating their share of the undertaking. Bolt's cautionary growl resonated just as the storage unit's door violently shut, casting them into complete darkness. The sound of a padlock securing itself reverberated within the restricted area. "Detective Mercer?" A voice called out from beyond the door. "District Attorney Peterson." A statement followed. "I have to admit, you've been more persistent than we anticipated, but this ends now." The distinct odor of gasoline drifted in from beneath the door. Eva's heart pounded as she listened to liquid being poured near the unit. "It's unfortunate," Peterson said. "A distressed detective, struggling with her partner's conviction, experiences a devastating accident while investigating conspiracy theories. That's the story the newspapers will present." Eva felt along the unit's rear wall, locating what she had observed previously. A maintenance panel weakened by age. As Peterson spoke at length outside, she silently worked it free. The service weapon would be located in the ashes, naturally, along with any evidence you believe you've uncovered. A regrettable conclusion, but unavoidable. The clear sound of a lighter igniting prompted Eva to move. She forced open the panel, entering a confined maintenance corridor. Bolt followed closely as flames erupted behind them. They reached the open air as smoke began pouring from the storage facility. Eva had succeeded in concealing the laptop and key documents within her jacket, though she anticipated Peterson would believe everything had been destroyed. Her phone vibrated. A message arrived from Jack's attorney. The execution date was established: 8 days. Eva glanced at Bolt. His fur soiled from their flight, yet his eyes were watchful and prepared. They possessed the evidence now, sufficient to reveal everything. However, with Jack's execution expedited and dishonest officials present at all levels, time was dwindling. A notification sounded on her disposable phone, another message from an unknown sender. "They are transporting something significant through the port tomorrow night. Pier 23. This is what Harrison lost his life attempting to reveal." Eva stroked Bolt's ears, her determination strengthening. "What do you say, boy? A final opportunity to dismantle them all?" Bolt's firm bark was the response she required. 7 days remained until Jack's scheduled execution. Eva positioned her car near Pier 23, Bolt watchful in the rear seat. The port security cameras had inexplicably stopped functioning 10 minutes prior. Through her binoculars, she observed unmarked trucks maneuvering to the rear of a recently arrived cargo ship. "This is Detective Mercer," she murmured into her encrypted radio. "Activity confirmed at Pier 23. Standing by for federal response." Following her escape from the storage fire, she had reached out to the one person she could still trust, FBI agent Sarah Chun, who had previously collaborated with Jack on a joint task force years ago. The evidence Eva had secured was now safely in federal custody, but more was required. They needed to apprehend the individuals involved. Bolt's quiet growl alerted her to activity on the pier. A recognizable figure emerged from a black SUV, Captain Rivera, having been released on bail just hours ago. He was accompanied by District Attorney Peterson and a man Eva identified from Harrison's photos, Marcus Reynolds, CEO of the construction company at the core of the situation. Her radio transmitted a message: "All units maintain current positions." A sudden, forceful rap on her passenger window startled Eva. She turned to see Peterson there, a gun pointed at her head. "You're becoming a real problem, Detective," he said, his smile chilling in the darkness. "Get out of the car. Both of you." As Eva exited, Bolt following closely, she observed other people stepping out of the shadows. They had been anticipating her. "Your persistence is admirable," Peterson stated, leading them toward the pier. "But did you truly believe we wouldn't be monitoring you? That we didn't anticipate your actions?" Rivera moved closer, manipulating Eva's radio. "Reinforcements from the federal government aren't arriving. That frequency has been compromised for several hours." They were directed to the location where Reynolds was watching the unloading process. Boxes were rapidly moved from the ship to the trucks. "You find it amusing, don't you?" Reynolds commented without looking at Eva. Jack nearly understood everything. The construction project, the port access, everything. He concentrated excessively on Harrison and neglected to scrutinize his own department. "You are correct," Eva responded, her hand moving slowly to her back. "He should have." Bolt's ears twitched at the sound of footsteps on metal overhead. Eva smiled. "However, I did." Gunfire erupted as FBI snipers opened fire from the surrounding cargo containers. The genuine raid team had never employed the radio. That was a diversion intended to elicit their observation. Disorder broke out on the pier. Peterson raised his weapon, but Bolt acted more swiftly, propelling himself at the DA with practiced accuracy. Eva took cover as gunfire began from multiple directions. FBI, everyone on the ground. Through the confusion, Eva noticed Rivera moving toward a vehicle. She gave chase with Bolt close behind as FBI teams took control of the area. Preventing Rivera's escape was crucial. He represented their connection to everyone implicated, extending to the highest echelons. The pursuit led them through a complex arrangement of cargo containers. Rivera was attempting to reach a waiting boat. They had only seconds to prevent him. Bolt, stop him, Eva ordered. The German Shepherd surged forward, a swift display of focused strength, precisely as Rivera arrived at the boat's ladder. Bolt's jaws closed on Rivera's leg, causing him to fall heavily onto the dock. As Eva restrained him, Rivera exclaimed, "You have no idea what you've done." As others learned, they already knew. Eva interrupted, noting the increasing number of FBI vehicles. "We didn't just target you tonight. Teams are engaging with judges, politicians, and police officials throughout the city." It's finished. Her phone vibrated. A message from Agent Chun. "Evidence secured. Proceeding to the governor's office now. Instruct Jack to remain." Eva glanced at her watch. 6 days, 13 hours remained until the execution. For the first time in weeks, she permitted herself a glimmer of hope. A chill ran down her spine, even as Rivera's laughter echoed as she led him away in cuffs. "You really think this is over?" She wondered. There's still time for accidents to happen, especially in prison. 20 hours remained until Jack's execution. Despite the FBI raids and mounting evidence, the governor hadn't signed the stay of execution. Eva paced the prison's administrative office while Bolt sat alert by the door. "Someone's blocking our access to the governor," Agent Chin explained, frustration evident in her voice. "Whenever we approach a resolution, we're being rerouted to less senior personnel. They appear to be delaying action." Eva's phone received a notification. It was an encrypted message from an unidentified sender. "Loading dock, prison kitchen. Midnight. Your partner will not survive until morning." She presented the message to Chun. "They are planning their operation tonight. We cannot initiate a movement of Jack without the necessary approval," Chun cautioned. "If we are incorrect, the consequences will be significant." Eva glanced at her watch. It was 11:45 p.m., and we have exhausted our available time. The prison's loading dock lay in shadows and silence as Eva and Bolt established their concealed location. Using her night vision scope, she identified 3 individuals near the kitchen entrance. One was dressed in a guard's uniform. "Target confirmed," she murmured into her radio. "They're here." The compromised guard unlocked the door, and 2 additional figures entered. Eva identified one by his characteristic limp. Marcus Reynolds himself had arrived to guarantee Jack's silence. "Hold position," Chen's voice crackled in Eva's earpiece. Minutes passed slowly. Eva's heart raced as she pictured them moving through the prison's corridors toward death row. Toward Jack. Suddenly, Bolt's ears twitched. A different sound. A vehicle approaching rapidly from behind. "We've got company," Eva warned, but it was too late. Floodlights burst on, revealing the loading dock. They had entered a trap. Detective Mercer, District Attorney Peterson's voice, resonated through a megaphone. He had secured bail just hours prior. "Did you genuinely believe we'd permit your interference?" Gunfire broke out from several locations. Eva and Bolt took cover behind concrete barriers as bullets ricocheted off metal nearby. Over her radio, she heard Chen's team clashing with hostiles on the opposite side of the prison. "Chun is dividing our forces. Reynolds is still moving toward Jack." Chun shouted back over the sound of gunfire, "Little busy here." Eva looked at Bolt and saw the same determination in his eyes that she felt. "Ready, boy?" The German Shepherd's muscles tensed in response. They moved as one, Eva providing covering fire while Bolt charged forward, a focused missile of fur and fury. He crashed into the nearest gunman, creating the opening they needed. They sprinted for the kitchen entrance, bullets tracking their path. Within, they detected the sound of footsteps resonating along the corridor leading to death row. A contest was unfolding, and failure was not an option. The execution chamber awaited at the corridor's conclusion. This time, there would be no further opportunities. 2 months later, Jack Calloway stood in the morning sunlight outside the courthouse, Bolt positioned beside him. The press conference had just concluded. The investigation revealed a sprawling corruption scheme involving 37 indictments, including 2 judges, the district attorney, and multiple high-ranking police officials. The corruption network that had nearly cost Jack his life was finally exposed. Eva observed from the sidelines as Jack knelt to ruffle Bolt's fur. The German shepherd's tail wagged with unrestrained joy, a stark contrast to his desperate barks on that fateful day of the conviction. Some attributed their discovery of the truth to mere luck, but Eva knew better. Occasionally, the most dependable evaluator of character walked on 4 legs. If you found this story as remarkable as we did, please share it with fellow K9 and true crime enthusiasts. What moment kept you captivated? Let us know in the comments below. We're also interested to know where in the world you are watching this compelling story of loyalty and justice from. Share your location in the comments. Ring that notification bell to ensure you never miss an upload. For more amazing K9 cases, please view our latest videos now. Until next time, remember, sometimes the biggest heroes have 4 paws and a badge. An airport police dog persistently alerted to an abandoned bag. Could it potentially contain explosives? Hesitantly, security personnel opened the bag, and the contents necessitated an immediate evacuation. Here's the full story. Before we proceed, please share in the comments below where you're watching from. And if you enjoy compelling police dog stories such as this one, remember to subscribe to stay updated on future content. A sterile glow from the fluorescent lights of Terminal 5 at O'Hare International Airport illuminated the polished floors as travelers rushed by, pulling rolling suitcases and carry-ons. A continuous hum of activity filled the air, punctuated by announcements over the PA system and conversations in a mix of languages. It was just past 7 a.m. As the morning international arrivals began to arrive, bringing the usual atmosphere that Officer Benjamin Linus knew from his 6 years with the airport's K9 unit, Benjamin straightened his dark blue uniform jacket, his badge reflecting the overhead light as he observed the increasing crowd. Beside him, Lexus, his Dutch Shepherd partner for 4 years, stayed in perfect heel position, his dark eyes carefully examining the constant flow of passengers. Another day in paradise. Huh, boy? Benjamin murmured, briefly scratching behind Lexus's alert ears. The shepherd leaned into his touch before returning to his vigilant posture. Morning, Linus. Officer Teresa Wong called from her post near customs. Lexus looking sharp today. Benjamin nodded in greeting. Just finished training recertification yesterday. Passed with flying colors. As usual, Security Director Melissa Harrington's voice crackled through Benjamin's radio. Attention all units. We are experiencing increased passenger volume in Terminal 5 today because of rerouted flights from Milwaukee. Please maintain a visible presence near checkpoints. Copy that, Benjamin responded, already adjusting their patrol route mentally. K9 Unit 7 will cover the east side checkpoints. Just another day at O'Hare, he thought. Routine, predictable, secure. As they turned the corner towards the less crowded international departures area, Benjamin noticed a subtle shift in the tension of Lexus's leash, the first sign that this day would be anything but ordinary. The change in Lexus's behavior was slight but unmistakable. A sudden, focused alertness that altered his usual patrol posture into something more intense. The shepherd's ears moved forward, his tail straightened, and his nose began working more intensely, taking in the air with increased urgency. "What is it, boy?" Benjamin asked softly, immediately noticing his partner's change in behavior. Lexus pulled gently on his lead, guiding Benjamin towards the eastern wing of the International Departures Terminal, a section currently undergoing renovation and less crowded than the main concourse. Early morning light poured in through large windows, revealing dust motes suspended in the air above the section with restricted seating. Benjamin surveyed the area, trying to understand what had caught Lexus's attention. The space was largely unoccupied, with only a handful of passengers asleep in chairs or absorbed in their electronics. Initially, nothing seemed out of place, but then Lexus abruptly moved towards a row of seats along the wall, his focus fixed on something located underneath them. The item was a bag, a medium-sized black duffel with no visible identification tag. It was positioned perfectly centered under the middle seat, partially hidden from a quick glance, but fully visible from their present viewpoint. Benjamin's training engaged instantly. Secure, he instructed, and Lexus remained perfectly still, keeping his attention on the bag. However, something seemed unusual about Lexus's behavior. During training for explosive or narcotic detection, Lexus exhibited distinct alert behaviors, a passive sit for explosives and active pawing for narcotics. This was an anomaly. The dog's body was stiff with tension, and a low, sustained growl emanated from his throat, a sound Benjamin had seldom heard from his usually calm partner. Lexus, check, Benjamin instructed, initiating the inspection signal. Rather than approaching the bag and indicating as he had been trained to do, Lexus retreated several steps. His growl deepened. His tail was now completely straight, hackles slightly raised, a posture unlike his usual alert stance. A passing custodian noticed them and began to approach. Benjamin raised his hand, stopping the man. "Sir, please step back," he ordered calmly but firmly. As if reacting to the newcomer, Lexus suddenly emitted 3 sharp, staccato barks, a sound so unlike his usual alerting behavior that it sent a chill down Benjamin's spine. Maintaining focus on the bag, Benjamin activated his radio. "Control, this is K9 Unit 7 at Terminal 5, East Wing, Section C. I have an unattended bag exhibiting atypical K9 alert behavior. I request backup and implementation of area evacuation protocol." The dispatcher replied, "Copy that, K9 Unit 7 security personnel are on their way. Commence standard abandoned bag protocol." Benjamin then began clearing the surrounding area, speaking with a firm but controlled tone to avoid causing alarm. "Esteemed guests, please gather your possessions and proceed calmly to the main concourse. Security personnel will guide you from that location." As the last non-employees left the area, a security team arrived, led by Lieutenant Jack Cassidy, the airport's senior security officer. His characteristic worried expression intensified as he evaluated the scene. "What's the situation, Linus?" Cassidy inquired, gesturing towards the bag. "Unattended bag, sir. No discernible markings, placed intentionally beneath the chairs." Cassidy's gaze moved to Lexus, who stayed focused on the target, their body rigid. "Your dog providing an unexpected alert?" Benjamin responded, worry clear in his tone. "This isn't his standard explosive alert, nor is it a narcotics detection. I'm not familiar with him behaving in this manner." Cassidy's face grew stern. "Unfamiliar with this reaction? What is the significance of that? He should be alerting or he shouldn't be." A second security team arrived, bringing their usual detection tools. The lead technician, Raj Patel, started preparing a portable X-ray machine, observing Lexus with a professional gaze. "Let's examine what's inside before we decide anything," Cassidy instructed. "Sir," Benjamin insisted, "I've been working with Lexus for 4 years. When he behaves like this, there's a valid explanation." As evacuation procedures began, Benjamin's thoughts returned to the day he first encountered Lexus, 3 years prior to their formal partnership. The recollection was clear: a scorching July afternoon at the Homeland Security Training Facility in Virginia, when Benjamin was attending specialized K9 handler training. "This one's different," Trainer Martinez stated, guiding Benjamin toward an isolated kennel separate from the other training dogs. A Dutch Shepherd, roughly 2 years old, was discovered during a raid on a trafficking operation near the Mexican border. Benjamin had looked into the kennel, anticipating an aggressive or distressed animal. However, he encountered an intensely focused gaze from a slender, muscular shepherd with distinctive amber eyes. Unlike many rescued dogs, the dog did not bark or pace. He remained perfectly still, evaluating Benjamin with a nearly human intelligence. "What is his history?" Benjamin asked, maintaining eye contact with the extraordinary animal. Martinez referred to his clipboard. We're not entirely sure, he stated. The operation involved smuggling both drugs and people. This dog was discovered guarding a container holding children inside. He did not attack the rescue team, did not attempt to flee, but instead protected the kids. The strangest thing I've ever seen, Martinez commented. He's failed traditional explosive detection programming, Martinez clarified. Not because he lacks the ability to detect. His scent detection abilities are exceptional, yet he repeatedly signals to things we haven't intentionally introduced. We initially dismissed these as false positives. Benjamin inquired when Martinez paused. 3 times now, he's alerted on items or locations where we discovered nothing. Each instance, we submitted the indicated items for comprehensive analysis. On each occasion, further investigation revealed something previously undetected. Chemical precursors, residues, compounds our routine tests failed to identify. It was as if he perceived the world on a different sensory plane than our other dogs. Benjamin returned to the current reality as Patel's voice cut through his memories. The initial scan revealed standard items, clothing, toiletries, and what appeared to be documentation. No explosive compounds were found, nor any unusual wiring or devices. Cassidy directed a significant look toward Benjamin. There you have it. With due respect, sir, Patel added, there's a peculiarity concerning the interior lining. Observe this density variation. The bag appeared to have a subtly altered compartment. It was barely noticeable, but clearly not a result of standard manufacturing. Benjamin felt a sudden feeling of unease as he noticed Lexus looking at him, seemingly confirming his suspicions. Lieutenant, he said softly, I believe we must treat this with utmost seriousness. Lexus has identified something that our usual protocols aren't addressing. Cassidy finally gave the order, call the bomb squad. Implement full evacuation protocol, establishing a 100-foot perimeter. Linus, I expect your dog to be correct about this. The bomb squad technicians advanced with methodical precision, their bulky protective suits making them appear almost robotic as they neared the abandoned bag. Benjamin and Lexus had been moved back to the perimeter line, where they maintained visual contact with the operation. Remote assessment first, announced Garcia, the bomb tech lead, as his team deployed a small rover equipped with additional sensing equipment. Cassidy stood beside Benjamin, his posture betraying the palpable tension. O'Hare deals with more than 2,500 lost items annually, he said. 99% are simply forgotten laptops and water bottles. He shook his head. We're closing down half a terminal because of a dog's unusual actions. The rover approached the bag, and Garcia directed its unique sensors from a distance. Following several anxious minutes, his voice came over the radio. No explosive compounds found, no radiation, no known biological agents detected. Shifting to a physical examination, Garcia proceeded, personally inspecting the bag with a specialized camera. Another individual arrived at the edge of the area, a woman wearing a fitted charcoal suit, her Homeland Security identification clearly visible. Agent Diana Walsh introduced herself briefly, asking about the circumstances. Likely a false alarm, Cassidy replied, before Benjamin could respond. Typical abandoned bag. No explosives have been found. We anticipate resuming operations soon. Walsh's keen gaze shifted from the surroundings to Lexus, who was now looking straight at her, his stance still tense and focused. That your dog, officer? Linus. Benjamin Linus. And yes, this is Lexus, she stated, rather than asked, which surprised Benjamin. I read the file. His alert behavior is unusual? Very, Benjamin confirmed. I've never seen him react this way before. Walsh examined Lexus with heightened interest. What exactly is different about his behavior? He is maintaining distance while remaining focused. Normally, he approaches detection targets directly. And these vocalizations? As if on cue, Lexus let out another series of short, sharp barks. They're not part of his training. Over the radio, Garcia's voice interrupted their conversation. Physical inspection reveals no traditional threat devices. However, there's definitely a concealed compartment in the lining. Very sophisticated work. not visible to the naked eye. Walsh's face grew serious. "Don't open that compartment," she instructed firmly into her own radio. "Excuse me?" Cassidy questioned. "This is airport jurisdiction." "Not anymore," Walsh replied, showing her credentials more clearly. "That bag corresponds to a profile we're monitoring. Officer Linus, how is your dog reacting? Is he retreating while still attentive?" Benjamin responded, seemingly taken aback. "That's precisely what's happening." Instead of explaining, Walsh quickly spoke into her radio. "Agent Walsh is requesting immediate hazmat support at O'Hare Terminal 5, East Wing. A potential CBR material is suspected. Priority code Alpha. Our sensors detect known threats," Walsh replied grimly to Cassidy's protest. "We've been tracking a new synthetic compound that evades standard detection. There have been 3 incidents in the past month: Dallas, Miami, and Phoenix. The only consistent detection has been unusual behavior from certain K-9 units. Specifically, alert without approach." Benjamin experienced a chilling realization. He was sensing something hazardous, though unfamiliar from his training. Therefore, he maintained a safe distance while staying vigilant. "Indeed," Walsh affirmed, "and should it prove to be what we suspect, your dog may have potentially saved hundreds of lives." The operations manager's face reddened significantly when Walsh requested a complete evacuation of the terminal. "Do you comprehend the implications of this request? This situation involves potentially disrupting travel for thousands of people and causing millions in lost revenue." "I understand perfectly," Walsh stated, her voice steady but with an unmistakable firmness. "And I'm not requesting it." Following a moment of heightened tension, Cassidy's radio crackled with a transmission from the airport director himself. After a short discussion, he addressed the group, his face serious. "The director has approved the full evacuation protocol for Terminal 5. We are initiating it now." With the evacuation announcement echoing through the terminal, Benjamin experienced a brief sense of relief, which was swiftly overtaken by a fresh worry. "If this is what you suspect, Agent Walsh," he thought, already observing the escalating disarray of the evacuation, "then whoever placed this bag here is probably still in the airport. And now we're setting everyone in motion, making them more difficult to track." Benjamin stated, his mind racing through the possibilities. "We need to find them before they realize we've discovered the bag. Lexus can help. If he detected whatever's in that bag, he might be able to track the person who handled it." Agent Harlow from the CBR response unit arrived and quickly coordinated with the hazmat team. Benjamin knelt beside Lexus, speaking in a low, steady tone. "We need to find who left this boy. Can you do that? Can you find them?" Lexus's intelligent eyes focused on Benjamin's face, a gentle whine escaping his throat, demonstrating understanding yet conveying worry. "I know it's dangerous," Benjamin said quietly. "We'll be cautious. But we need to find them." The hazmat team arrived, fully equipped in protective gear, their presence forming a strange, isolated zone of intense action within the now unsettlingly vacant terminal. Benjamin and Lexus stayed at the designated perimeter, observing as the specialists cautiously neared the bag. "Remote extraction first," the hazmat lead stated, deploying a specialized robot intended to manage potentially hazardous materials. While maintaining a negative pressure environment during the transfer, Harlow approached, holding a tablet displaying security footage. "We've got partial facial recognition from cameras near where the bag was placed. The individual is a male, approximately 30 to 35 years old. He is Caucasian and traveling alone. He entered through the north entrance at 6:14 a.m. He was carrying a bag. That was nearly 2 hours ago," Benjamin noted with concern, suggesting he could be long gone. Harlow countered, swiping to another image, stating he was last seen entering a restroom near Gate E9 20 minutes ago and has not emerged yet. Meanwhile, the hazmat team successfully accessed the concealed compartment within a specialized containment unit. The hazmat lead's voice crackled over the radio. Professional detachment briefly faltered. This isn't just a chemical agent," he stated. "There's sophisticated delivery equipment in here. A timer, atomizer, distribution system, and documentation. A lot of it." The hazmat lead continued, his voice returning to its professional calm. "The dispersal mechanism was set for noon, 4 hours from now. when the terminal would be at peak capacity. Travel documents, multiple identities, and maps. Terminal layouts for O'Hare, Atlanta Hartsfield, LAX. This indicated a broader operation. A hazmat technician meticulously removed what seemed to be a small notebook, securing it in a transparent evidence bag, and subjecting it to a decontamination procedure before it was given to Harlow. "It's a manifesto," Harlow stated grimly as he examined the pages. Concerning rhetoric, including expressions of extreme opposition to immigration and allusions to restricting international travel, has emerged. This indicated a planned terrorist attack with the intent to target foreign nationals at several airports. The hazmat team has identified the chemical compound involved. It is a synthesized neurological agent, non-lethal upon contact, but intended to induce panic, disorientation, and respiratory distress within a densely populated airport environment, potentially leading to widespread panic and chaotic trampling. Benjamin completed his thought. Standard sensors wouldn't identify it, as it's designed to stay inactive until scattered. Harlow gave Benjamin a hotel key, which was located in an outer pocket of the bag and is now secured in an evidence bag. It should be safe for your dog to analyze the scent from the bag without physical contact. "Lexus. Scent," Benjamin instructed, holding the sealed bag close to the shepherd's nose without opening it. Lexus inhaled deeply, then looked at Benjamin, attentive and prepared. "Locate him." Benjamin gave the signal, and they proceeded into the terminal's interior, where their suspect might still be concealed. Lexus advanced with focused determination through the evacuated terminal, his nose working constantly as he followed the scent from the hotel key card. Benjamin kept a steady tension on the lead, allowing his partner sufficient freedom to work while remaining connected to his movements. Agent Walsh and 2 airport security officers trailed behind, maintaining a distance to avoid disrupting the scent tracking. The deserted terminal, usually filled with activity, provided a disturbing scene for their pursuit. Coffee cups remained warm on the tables. Breakfast sandwiches were left unfinished. Newspapers drifted in the air conditioning, which continued to operate despite the evacuation. As they headed toward Concourse E, Benjamin spoke softly into his radio, while Lexus guided them past closed duty-free shops and empty waiting areas. Lexus abruptly stopped at a junction of corridors, his sense of smell working intensely as he appeared to evaluate different scent paths. Following a brief pause, he turned purposefully toward a service corridor labeled Authorized Personnel Only. "He is entering the restricted area," Benjamin confirmed into his radio. "Request backup at Service Corridor E42. The door to the service area was slightly ajar, a further cause for concern, as these doors were mandated to remain secured at all times. Lexus's pace increased, his body language indicating a closer approach to their target. The narrow corridor opened into a more spacious back-of-house area where airport operations handled luggage, supplies, and equipment. Lexus paused once more, moving around a section close to a staff break room before returning towards a door labeled Electrical Access. His actions changed slightly, his ears perked, his posture suggesting he's found their target. Through the little, wire-reinforced window, Benjamin could see activity inside, someone quickly collecting things from a backpack. "Subject identified," Benjamin spoke into his radio. "Male matches description, seems to be getting ready for something. Request immediate tactical response." Lexus emitted a warning bark. The suspect had observed their presence through the window. Immediately, the man inside began moving, displaying frantic energy, retrieving something from his pack. "No time," Benjamin responded urgently. "Subject is actively handling unknown materials. We're moving in now." With practiced coordination, Benjamin and the security team positioned themselves at the door while Walsh covered their flank. With Benjamin's approval, an officer opened the door, and they entered quickly. "Airport police, Homeland Security, hands where we can see them," Walsh ordered, raising her weapon. The suspect, a thin man with close-cropped hair and pale eyes, paused briefly, his hands near what looked like another modified bag resembling the one they had discovered. He then moved swiftly, lunging for a small canister on the workbench. "Another device," Benjamin cautioned, issuing a command at the same time. "Lexus, stop." The Dutch Shepherd surged ahead with intense focus, expertly trained to neutralize dangers without causing serious harm. He intercepted the suspect's arm just as he attempted to reach the canister, using a controlled pressure with his jaw that made the man cry out and fall backward. "Don't move," Walsh instructed as Benjamin secured Lexus, and the security officers moved in to restrain the suspect. A brief examination of the room exposed the troubling extent of the operation, including another partially assembled dispersal device, additional documentation, and what seemed to be communication equipment. The suspect remained handcuffed to a chair in the airport security office, his gaunt face set in a look of scornful silence as Agent Harlow and a recently arrived FBI agent prepared for questioning. "His name is Ethan Mercer," Walsh told Benjamin, reading from a preliminary report on her tablet. A former chemical engineering student, who left school 3 years ago, had been flagged for extremist online activity on several watch lists. However, no action was deemed necessary until now. Through the speaker, they could hear Harlow starting the interrogation, using a methodical and controlled approach. Mercer remained silent, offering only occasional smirks and shrugs in response. The interrogation stretched on for several minutes without significant advancement until the FBI agent presented photographs of the disassembled device on the table. A subtle expression crossed Mercer's face, not fear, but something resembling pride. "You were fortunate," Mercer finally said, his voice unexpectedly gentle and clear. "If not for that dog." Benjamin noticed Lexus stiffen next to him at the mention, as if the shepherd recognized he was the subject of discussion. "How many more?" Harlow asked, leaning forward. Mercer's smile broadened a little. "Sufficient. Today marked the commencement. The purification process has begun, and the impending events are unstoppable." A disturbance in the hallway captured their focus when the hazmat team leader arrived with pressing information. "We have finished the analysis of the communication devices located with the suspect," he stated. "They are burner phones, each containing only 3 numbers in the call history. Each of those 3 numbers traces back to prepaid phones bought in separate cities." Walsh suspected Dallas, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. His assessment proved accurate, the hazmat lead verified. Further details emerged. The devices incorporated synchronized timers, intended for simultaneous activation across all locations. "Your phones betrayed you, Ethan," Harlow stated, her voice steady through the interrogation room speaker. "We are currently monitoring your associates." He glanced at his watch with a studied nonchalance. "They are likely already in custody. Now, the crucial question remains: who will break their silence first?" The possibility of avoiding a lifetime in solitary confinement hinged on cooperation. For the first time, uncertainty appeared on Mercer's face. His meticulously built resistance started to falter. "Your dog ruined everything," Mercer abruptly said, glaring at the one-way glass as if he could see Benjamin through it. "Those devices were undetectable. We tested them for months. How did that animal know?" As the sun set over the O'Hare runways, Terminal 5 was declared clear of all threats. Limited operations had resumed in other areas of the airport. Thousands of passengers remained displaced, their travel plans disrupted by the day's events. Benjamin stood by a wall of windows overlooking the tarmac, watching planes slowly returning to their gates as Lexus rested at his feet, finally relaxed after the intense day. "Officer Linus," Agent Walsh approached, appearing weary but satisfied, "and thought you'd want an update before you left." Mercer provided his contacts after approximately 3 more hours of interrogation, she reported. Tactical teams apprehended 2 accomplices in Atlanta and 1 in Los Angeles, all possessing similar devices in early preparation stages. Dallas proved to be a false lead, a deliberate misdirection, potentially in response to compromised communications. "We stopped it," Benjamin confirmed, his voice conveying obvious relief. "Completely?" Walsh affirmed, looking down at Lexus with a gesture of respect. "The timing was absolutely critical. Had that first device deployed successfully, it would have provided data enabling improvements to the others. Each subsequent attack would have been more effective. Do you have any understanding yet of how he managed to detect the compound when none of our equipment could?" Walsh smiled faintly. "Our lab has a theory. The compound's chemical profile shifts slightly upon exposure to the surrounding atmosphere. This characteristic contributed to the difficulty in its detection. Standard instruments are often adjusted to recognize defined, consistent profiles. Lexus, however, operates differently. Canines don't use calibration. They interpret scent data through unique methods, identifying patterns and alterations beyond the capacity of current technology. Dr. Eris knelt down to Lexus's level, receiving a questioning head movement from the shepherd. This particular dog appears exceptionally skilled. It's likely his early experiences contributed to his advanced detection abilities. Lieutenant Cassidy arrived, his initial doubts giving way to clear respect. The director has scheduled a meeting for both of you tomorrow morning. A commendation is planned. The FBI is now assuming control of the investigation, Walsh stated. However, Homeland Security remains keen on evaluating your K9's detection capabilities. With your permission, we'd like to develop a training program utilizing Lexus's responses to assist other dogs in recognizing these types of threats. As Walsh and Cassidy departed, Benjamin knelt beside Lexus, carefully taking the dog's face in his hands. The intelligent amber eyes that had first connected with him years ago at the training facility looked back with the same unwavering trust. You did well today, partner. Really well. He stroked his hands along Lexus's sides. A final check was performed to ensure there were no signs of distress or exposure. Finding none, the lead was reattached to the tactical collar. Let's go home. As they walked through the terminal, which was gradually reopening, Benjamin thought about how many near misses in his career had depended on split-second decisions and instinctive reactions. But today had been different. Today focused on the deep trust developed between Handler and K9 through years of collaboration, a connection that went beyond training manuals and standard procedures. What Lexus accomplished couldn't be duplicated by technology or documented in reports. It represented the peak of natural aptitude, specialized training, and something more intangible, a nearly instinctive ability that some remarkable working dogs appeared to have. Benjamin had consistently trusted his partner's skills, but today had solidified that trust into something absolute. No matter what difficulties they encountered moving forward, they would confront them as a team, their partnership strengthened by the experiences of today. The following morning would involve reviews, paperwork, and probably numerous inquiries regarding Lexus's distinctive detection abilities. For tonight, Benjamin felt satisfied, knowing that many travelers would return home safely to their families, completely unaware of how narrowly they had avoided disaster, and how a Dutch shepherd with amber eyes had stood between them in the midst of chaos. Have you ever experienced a moment when an animal perceived something that humans completely missed? Animals often possess remarkable abilities that science is still trying to understand. This story highlights how vital these instincts can be in critical situations. We are interested in hearing about your experiences with animals that appear to possess more understanding than the humans nearby. Considering you were in Officer Linus's position, would you have believed your canine partner's atypical behavior, despite technology and protocols indicating no danger? It requires significant courage to support a partner's instincts when others advise caution. Can you recall a time when you made a tough choice relying on your gut feeling instead of data? Working dogs, such as Lexus, contribute to saving many lives daily across the globe due to their remarkable skills and commitment. Do you have personal encounters with service animals or working dogs that impressed you with their intelligence and abilities? Please share your stories in the comments below. Inspired by Lexus's incredible story today? Don't miss our next video. Subscribe and enable notifications. We release another unforgettable story of heroism and dedication from the world's most extraordinary canine officers every day at the same time. Give a like if you think these four-legged heroes deserve more recognition for their life-saving work. We think you'll enjoy this video if you love dogs or are interested in canine units. Please see our previous stories, which are appearing on the screen now. And remember, behind every great police dog is a partnership built on unwavering trust and communication. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time with another amazing canine story.